Hello, in this video we are going to look at how to do Pythagorean Theorem word problems. So at this point you should be familiar with how to deal with Pythagorean Theorem problems. We're just extending it to look at some word problems. So let's read this one. A ladder 13 meters long is placed on the ground in such a way that it touches the top of a vertical wall 12 meters high. Find the distance of the foot of the ladder from the bottom of the wall. I keep telling students that the first thing they should always do is to draw a picture of the problem. So in this problem we have a ladder. We've got a vertical wall and it's on the ground. So let's draw a picture of that. So here's the wall. Walls usually look a little bit like this. They're not all identical, but they all look a little bit like that. Okay, so there's my wall. Here's my ground. Like so. And I have a ladder, so I can have a ladder leaning against the top of a wall, like that. Here's my ladder. It's not a great ladder, but whatever. We know that it's a ladder. Remember, you're not marked on artistic talent, so if your sketch is terrible, doesn't matter, you still get the points. Okay. And now we can see there's a triangle here. Remember that in Pythagorean Theorem word problems, you're always looking for a right angle triangle somewhere inside your problem, and we can see one right here. It is this central bit in the middle. Okay. So now that we've drawn our problem, we need to go and label it with the proper numbers. In this question, they told us that we have a 13-meter wall ladder, and the top of the wall is 12 meters high. So I'm going to go label that. Here's my ladder, and my ladder is 13 meters. The wall is 12 meters high. So 13 and 12 goes over there, which means that this question is asking for this, the bottom distance down there. I can also go into my triangle and say, all right, well, I know I have to label the sides A, B, and C, so I can go do that now. The easiest way is to start with C. C is always your longest side. If I look at my triangle here, my longest side looks like this diagonal one over here, so I'm going to put C over there. A and B are interchangeable, so I'm going to put A on the bottom and B over there. Okay. Remember, it's important to find C first, and then the other two are interchangeable. C is always the longest, or the one across from the right angle. Right angle is here, across is C. So we don't need that, let's erase that. Okay. For Pythagorean Theorem word problems, remember that as a math teacher, we are trying to challenge you. We're trying to present problems that you've never seen before. And to do that, we usually give you problems that sort of dress up the question a little bit and makes it a little difficult for you to decipher exactly what we are asking. So drawing this diagram here is very important for you to figure out exactly what your teacher is asking. And once you have drawn it, the rest of the question is fairly straightforward. Remember the 4 steps? Step 1, identify A, B, C. Step 2 is do the squares. Step 3 is isolate. And then step 4 is do square roots. So these are my 4 steps, and I'm going to follow these 4 steps to complete the question. Okay. Step 1 was sort of done while we were drawing the diagram. When we put the numbers on here in the ABC, we identify what the ABC was. So I can just continue from there. Let's change the color. Let's say I want to use green. Does green show up? No, not really. Let's not use that. It doesn't show up very well against this background. Let's use gray. Does gray show up? Nope. It also does not show up. Well, we'll just use black then. Okay. You always start the question with the equation. a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. At this point, you should probably have memorized it, and if you haven't, please work on that. We're going to put in the numbers a, b, and c. I don't have a number for a. B is 12. C is 13. So there's step 1 done. Check. Step 2, do the squares. I'm going to do these squares. 12 squared is 144. If you don't know how I got that, please check your calculator and type in 12 squared. You should have figured out how to use the square button on your calculator by now, and if you haven't, please bring your calculator in to see Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee will show you how to find the square button. 13 squared is 169. So there's step 2 done. We've done the squares. Isolate. Remember that isolate means that we want to have a squared here with an equals and a number on the other side. Right. There's multiple ways to do this, but I will do this. I'm going to subtract 144 from each side. Equal to 169 minus 144. And if I do that, I find that I get 25. We're almost done here. We are done the isolate. Now time to do the square roots. So I take the square root of everything. By that, I don't mean one big square root with everything in it. I mean I take every single number that I have and letter that I have, and I square root them. So if I square root a squared, it's a. If I square root 25, at this point, you should also know how to do square roots in your calculator. And if you square root 25, you get 5. And that is it. I've done my square root. Now, let's read the question again and see how this a equals 5 relates to the question. So the question is asking, find the distance of the foot of the ladder from the bottom of the wall. So it's this distance right here. Well, a distance isn't really 5. It has to be 5 something. You can't just say it's 5 away. That makes no sense. You can say it's 5 feet away, it's 5 meters away, it's 5 steps away, or anything like that, but you always need a unit of measurement. Just saying that it's 5 away doesn't make any sense. For example, if I came into a class and said, hey, I'm trying to find, say, Mr. Lynch's room, how far away is that? You're not going to say, oh, Mr. Lynch's room is 15 away. Now, that makes no sense. You can say that's 15 meters down the hall. You can say that's 15 steps that way, but you can't say it's 15. Same idea here. I can't just say it's 5. I have to give a unit. Well, the unit that was given in this question is meters, so that means A is equal to 5 meters. I'll put a box around that because that's my answer, and then a happy face because I finished my math question. And that is it. That is all you have to do. Right. So remember, the tricky parts of the question usually occurs in the process of doing step 1, identifying A, B, and C. And it usually occurs here where you are trying to formulate your triangle. Okay. Most word problems are set up so that they are a little bit challenging in terms of how you set it up. But once you figure out what your triangle looks like, you can always apply these 4 steps to find the answer. All right, that is it for this one.